Hello, all you lions, geigers, and bears out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor.
Nicely handled.
My name is Fletcher. About to say hello is Data.
Hey.
Today we're going to recap and discuss Star Trek DS9 Season 5, Episode 25, In the Cards. Alternate title, Storage Wars, Bajor.
I mean, okay, yeah. It kind of, a little bit of that. There's, just since you already touched on it, there's a note in here that says, the lions and geigers and bears thing is an obvious reference to the 1939 Victor Fleming film The Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy says lions and tigers and bears. Indeed, the character of Elias Geiger was named specifically so the Oz illusion would make sense. Lions refers to Jake's line, "We're going to beard the lion in its den." Bears refers to Kukulaka. So Ronald D. Moore needed something to rhyme with tiger.
Yeah. None of the rest of that was forced. But the Geiger.
And it's actually funny that it mentions that because I just went with my wife last week to see a play called Moonlight and Magnolias, which is about the writing of Gone with the Wind. And it's like David O. Selznick calls Victor Fleming off of the set of Wizard of Oz, which is almost done. He's like, yeah, you're done directing Wizard of Oz. Now you're going to direct this movie because I fired the director who was on the movie. And Victor Fleming's like, but he's like your best friend. Your kids call him Uncle So-and-so. He's like, yeah, he's out. And then like he forces Victor Fleming and this author, Ben Hecht, the screenwriter, to come in and like he locks the three of them in his office for 5 straight days to write the script.
Nice.
Because the script for Gone with the Wind that existed was so terrible, and he only allows them to eat like bananas and peanuts.
Oh, nice.
And it was a pretty entertaining comedic play that relies heavily. I mean, it all takes place in one room with 3 guys as almost the entire cast. So a lot of weight falls on the shoulders of those
nice.
Guys.
Was your brother in that play?
No, he was not.
Oh. I haven't had a good banana in a while.
Oh, they sell them all over the place.
That's true. Anyway, just in case this is your first time watching Star Trek DS9, we will attempt to only discuss spoilers up through this episode of Star Trek DS9. But we have no promises about any other spoilers for anything else. So proceed at your own risk.
Yep.
In the Cards originally aired June 9th, 1997. It was written by, as we mentioned, Ronald D. Moore. Story by Truly Bar Clark. So it's not Truly by Bar Clark. His or her name is Truly Bar Clark.
Yep.
And Scott J. Neal.
So the information in here on them is interesting and limited.
Of course.
All it says is Truly Bar Clark wrote the story for this episode of Deep Space Nine. In the Cards is her only writing credit to date. Clark had previously worked as an intern on the series. So that's it. You go to the IMDb page and sure enough, still just the one entry for Truly Bar Clark. So not much to glean there. Scott J. Neal, on the other hand, his entry says he wrote the story for the 5th season episode In the Cards with Truly Bar Clark. It is his only writing credit to date. Once again, IMDb bears this out, but there's an extra paragraph about him that says he's currently a professor at Durham Technical Community College in Durham, North Carolina, where he teaches various classes on operating systems and information technologies. He lives in Hillsborough, North Carolina, with his son Nolan.
Oh, that's nice.
So I feel like Scott Neal went out and like edited the Memory Alpha page to like give him a little more depth.
I mean, I bet he's a Star Trek fan. He came up with the story for a Star Trek episode.
Yeah, we don't know how, but
we need to do a documentary where we like go across the country and track down all these story by people that are completely mysterious and figure out what's up with them.
That sounds hard.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments if we should do that. We definitely will if you say that we will.
Yeah, 100%.
We always follow through with the ideas that we come up with.
This is not a binding legal contract.
Not a guarantee. Anyway, and the episode is directed by Michael Dorn.
Yep. In his first time directing an episode of Star Trek.
Wow. And Cirroc Lofton absolutely is in this episode.
Who isn't in this episode, though?
Ooh. Dax?
Did you notice? Yes, Terry Farrell does not appear in this episode.
I didn't even notice.
You know, you bring Cirroc Lofton in, you got to kick somebody off.
Well, his incredible acting talent is too big for the episode, so
he needs his own trailer, but they only bought so many trailers, so they have to tell somebody else not to come.
Right. You're Terry Farrell this week. So it's a not-so-cheery dinner party at the Sisko house. The senior officers sit in dour silence while waiters Jake and Nog clear tables. But hands off that whiskey. Odo, who doesn't eat, has absolutely nothing to do. Worf intently studies a thing hanging on the wall.
Yeah, some sort of something.
Which, okay, so my theory, and your Memory Alpha research may confirm this, is that Michael Dorn was busy directing the scene, so they just had a body double stand in the background the whole time.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't thought of that. It doesn't say anything about that. So,
but the group starts making morose conversation about the escalating Dominion threat and the many ships that have gone missing near the Cardassian border.
Yeah, apparently including the USS Tiananmen, which goes missing in this episode, but, spoiler, is going to show up in an episode next year.
Oh, wow.
So either they named a new one that real quick, or they found it.
Or, yeah, it just actually got lost. It had its own, like, little mini Star Trek Voyager situation.
Oh, yeah. See, there you go.
Yeah, everybody's assuming the Dominion is blowing up these ships, but there's actually, like, a caretaker.
There's so many caretakers out there just snapping up ships. It's crazy.
Well, Sisko tries to change the subject and asks Chief O'Brien if Kiriyoshi has started walking. You mean the baby that was born 4 months ago? No, he has not.
The only parent who is asked about their kid and is just like, oh, yeah, no, I'm not going to really get into that.
Not very realistic, but he is in a bad mood because of the Dominion threat or whatever, and he's been hitting that whiskey pretty hard, so... Odo has to cancel his upcoming trip due to the increasing theft of rations and supplies, which is not considered a good omen. So Sisko gives up and ends the dinner, wanting to be left alone for a while. But then he gets a call that he's going to get a special visitor tomorrow. Kai Wynn.
Yay.
This does not improve his mood.
No.
Jake and Nog head to Quark's to cheer themselves up with some root beers.
Yeah, Nog's like, man, thanks for inviting me to the...
Right.
And I was... Which is funny, because earlier in the scene, I was like, did they only invite Nog to, like, wait on tables for the senior staff? That's kind of messed up.
No, they totally did not explain this to Nog. Like, Nog thought he was going to get to eat with the senior staff, but he was a waiter. So, Jake and Nog observe that the mood is low all around the station. Jake is particularly worried about his dad, who has never seemed so gloomy. Quark comes by and invites them to an auction tomorrow. A good opportunity to spend some of that latinum Nog has stashed under his bed. Which, Nog kind of like self-tells on himself by being like, how do you know about that?
Yeah, that wasn't... Come on, dude.
But Nog looks through the catalog and quickly sizes it up as a bunch of junk. But one item catches Jake's interest.
Didn't he give all his money to Sisko that one time?
When was that?
Like when he was like, yeah, a kid like sells all his possessions and then he uses the money to bribe someone to like be his mentor or whatever. And Sisko kept trying to give the money back and then Nog like leaves it there and walks out.
This is a good point. Maybe he earned more money or Sisko just would never let him give it to him or something. I don't know.
He's like hustling Tongo at the academy.
Right. So anyway, yes. This mint condition 1951 Willie Mays rookie baseball card. And you know who loves baseball? Captain Sisko. Jake immediately resolves to buy the card. and surprise his dad with it, which will surely lift his spirits.
There is a note about this Willie Mays baseball card. It is from the 1951 Bowman baseball set with a 2014 value of $4,000 US.
Nice.
So I feel like it's lost value in the future.
Well, as I'm going to mention in a little bit, I feel like a lot of this stuff is getting sold for way cheap, but isn't there... it's like Michael Piller. I think one of the Deep Space Nine guys is a huge baseball fan, and that's where the Cisco baseball...
Oh, interesting.
I've heard that in interviews, but I forgot who it's supposed to be. But I've heard, like, actors talk about how, like, this guy will always take you out to a baseball game and stuff like that. So I was wondering if, like, this card actually belonged to him, or...
Michael Piller was an avid baseball card collector, is a note in the baseball entry in this Memory Alpha.
So that tracks.
Probably best known for co-writing The Best of Both Worlds and the pilots of both Deep Space Nine and Voyager.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that is quite a resume. Is he still working on Deep Space Nine? Or did he leave?
Hold on, let's see what...
Because we used to get Michael Piller episodes all the time, it felt like.
The last episode of Deep Space Nine he wrote was in Season 2. It was crossover, but he wrote 15 episodes leading up to that. So once upon a time, he was writing a lot of Deep Space Nine. I don't know.
I think at one point you even mentioned that it was his last episode or something before he went off to Voyager or something like that.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That he's gone off to Voyager or something. Yeah.
But no word on if this baseball card belonged to Michael Piller or...
Yeah, I'm scrolling through his thing right now to see...
consulted at least on this baseball card story.
After Season 2 of Deep Space Nine, he left for Voyager, which launched in 1995 as the flagship vessel of the newly created UPN network. Left the staff of Voyager in 1996 after 7 continuous years with the Star Trek franchise, but remained a creative consultant on Voyager and Deep Space Nine until he returned to write and co-produce Star Trek Insurrection in 1998.
Oh, bravo!
Yeah, that's not the moment you want to go out on, quite frankly.
Did he invent the purple space bazooka?
Maybe.
So anyway, yeah, Jake, he wants to buy his dad this card, but then he dooms himself by asking, how hard could it be?
Oh no, don't do that.
Why would you even say that in this situation? Unfortunately, Jake comes from a society that doesn't have money, choosing instead to better themselves and humanity. What does that mean exactly, says Nog. Good question. Whatever it means, it's not very helpful when you want to buy and own something.
So, Raul D. Moore is quoted in here saying about Jake, quoting Captain Picard from Star Trek First Contact when he says, "We work to better ourselves and the rest of humanity." Moore commented, "I took great glee at mocking my own work."
Well, good. We all should. And I guess Jake's proceeds from the No Jake Consortium are long gone.
Yeah, must be. I mean, what's he been doing with all that money he got hustling Tongo? Maybe he was using it trying to pick up more Dabo girls. I don't know.
Yeah, or he was hustling Domjot, not Tongo.
Oh yeah, Domjot, sure. And so I like to think that in actuality, Jake has a bunch of Latinum saved up, and he just didn't want to spend it. So
this whole thing is
has the sob story for Nog.
I hope so. Yeah, but Nog doesn't want to let loose a single Latinum penny of his 5 bars for this cause. But Jake has a trick up his sleeve. A good old guilt trip. Wasn't it Captain Sisko who sponsored your entry to Starfleet Academy? How could you turn down the chance to repay him? And also, I don't know if Jake ever even gave Nog credit for helping him get this card when he gave it to his dad.
Yeah, well, we don't get to see that part of it, really, so...
Right. The next morning, Kai Wen arrives at the captain's office. She dismisses Kira and invites Sisko on a walk. A walk? Yes, it'll be more visually interesting.
That wasn't part of the deal. And he takes his cyanide pill.
Sisko takes out his suicide pill. Wen reveals that she's on the station to meet a representative from the Dominion.
But who could it be?
Sisko seems completely unaware that the Dominion delegation was coming to Deep Space Nine. But he agrees that in this situation, he and the Kai's goals are aligned in keeping Bajor safe. So he's like, did the Dominion like book a berth or whatever? Or not a berth, but a spot on the station?
I mean, the Bajorans own the station. They can probably be
Sure.
like, yes, you're allowed to be there.
You'd think at some point Sisko would catch wind of that, though.
Yeah, I mean, you think that they should have to run it through him. Maybe this is this is them alerting him.
Sure. In the bar, Quark does his best to auction off the various junk from his Storage Wars haul, or whatever.
But it's for the orphans, so...
Oh, yeah, sure. Everything's always going to those orphans. Someone needs to do an audit of this war orphan charity. For some reason, the baseball card is lumped together with a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, apparently it was all just found in this chest, and they're like, I guess we should sell all of the various things from different cultures as one lot, since they were in the same box.
Yeah. Makes total sense. So included is a pre-Serac Vulcan bracelet, which I did some research, and that makes it over 2,000 years old.
Yep, old bracelet.
That sounds kind of valuable to me.
Yeah.
A 6th century Bajoran mandala, or, I mean, what calendar 6th century, who knows, but that also sounds valuable.
Well, I mean, apparently that's what that Vedic wants.
Well,
we assume, because he's Bajoran and the mandala is Bajoran.
I mean, it seems like a pretty safe assumption, but...
Yeah.
Also, there's a 23rd century ion translator, and the box itself, which is probably worth something too.
And the baseball card.
Right. Jake gets into a small bidding war with the Bajoran Vedic, who is, like, using a smartphone or something. But Nog is confident that he'll drop out when the bidding gets past 2 bars of latinum. And he's correct.
So, interesting note here.
Okay.
It's been established that in the conversion of latinum, that 20 strips is 1 bar. But during the auction, Quark raises the price of the chest with the baseball card to 1 bar 25 strips before Dr. Geiger bids 2 bars. Since there are only 20 strips in a bar, this bid is actually less than the previous bid.
Oh my gosh, I hope someone got fired for that blunder.
I prefer to think that Geiger just didn't understand the
right.
conversion.
And Quark just ran with it.
Yeah, he's like, whatever. If I can keep like the momentum going, then I'll drive it up.
Okay, so we'll spare that one from Nitpick of the Week. But then a new challenger enters. It's the guy whose wife Don Draper had an affair with in Season 6 of Mad Men. And indeed, this is a madman. For out of nowhere, he jacks the bid way up to 10 bars of latinum.
And Jake, apparently still not understanding how money works, goes, what do we do now?
Right.
And Nog says, we're out of money. We don't do anything except lose.
Yeah. What we do now is we lose the auction.
Hmm.
Where did this guy get 10 bars of latinum? Do I want to know? But thus the baseball card is lost, and we move on to the next item for bid, the painting that inspired the flag of a 22nd century Martian colony, which also sounds incredibly valuable.
Oh, yeah.
And goes to Morn.
Hey, Morn got a Morn also. I mean, as we will learn later, spoiler, it's like the only decorative item that he owns. So he must really love it.
Sure.
I hope that he went and hung this in his quarters and realized it clashed with everything else. And he looked at the painting, looked at everything else, and threw the rest away.
He's like, this is my decoration now.
So it's funny you mention the wife from Mad Men, because in the original version of the teleplay for this episode, Elias Geiger is not after immortality. He is trying to resurrect his dead wife using just her ear to genetically recreate her.
Okay.
So, and Ronald D. Moore, this was an Ira Stephen Bear idea. And Ronald D. Moore's like, I don't know. I don't think that works. And Renee Echevarria is like, hey, the reason it doesn't work is because this is not a character you're supposed to take seriously. But his goal of resurrecting his dead wife makes you want him to succeed.
That might give him a little too much empathy.
Yeah. So Echevarria's like, you should have him searching for immortality. And Moore's like, I don't think I like that. And then Ira Stephen Bear comes back and is like, okay, what if he's trying to achieve something that initially sounds interesting and plausible, but quickly turns out to be crazy? And that's when Moore is like, Oh, if I stick that with the idea about the immortality. Okay. And more comes up with the idea of cellular ennui, as we will get to soon.
Nice. Now I just like to imagine that this is the guy from Mad Men, and he did achieve immortality. And now he wants to bring his wife back to life so he can yell at her for sleeping with Don Draper.
As you should.
Which he just found out about, like...
Yeah, way after the fact.
Right. It's like Don Draper confessed to it on his deathbed or something. He was like, wait, what? The whole season? So anyway, Jake is bummed, and it takes him and Nog a surprisingly long time to come up with the idea, why don't we just try to go buy the baseball card from that guy?
Yeah, I'm really surprised that this is not an idea that you get sooner. It's like, do you think that guy really wanted all of the various unrelated things in the chest? Like,
right.
Maybe he would actually like the chance to recoup some of what he had to pay for whatever he wanted. Unless he was also a baseball card collector, which I guess is possible.
True.
Then, you might be in good shape.
You know that he wants that ion trans whatever, and the rest is just going on Ferengi Bay.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I've used that joke before, but I will recycle it.
Yep, just keep going.
But yeah, that guy isn't having it. He accuses Jake and Nog of being soulless minions of orthodoxy. And out of nowhere, he insists that he hasn't broken any laws, except maybe the laws of nature. So Jake and Nog are like, you doing it with sheep? What's going on?
It's such a great performance there, where he's just instantly paranoid and just insane from the moment that he opens his mouth. And I loved it.
Oh, yeah. This guy's great. This guy needs his own spinoff. Sisko goes to the airlock to meet the arriving Dominion representative, Weyoun.
Oh, my goodness, it's Weyoun.
Sisko is having absolutely none of Weyoun's attempts at diplomacy. And Weyoun ominously says it's too bad because he expects them to be seeing a lot more of each other.
He really comes hard with this, we're like best buddies, right? And Sisko's like, I am not in the mood for your shit.
Please stop. Just please get on the station and do whatever you're doing. Then Nog finds Jake and gives him some exciting news. Dr. Geiger, the baseball card guy, has agreed to sell them the baseball card. So they go to Dr. Geiger's quarters, which are set up as some kind of strange laboratory, with a big white pod thing in the middle. But Dr. Geiger doesn't want money for the card. He hands Jake and Nog a long list of more junk. Nog is a little concerned about what Dr. Geiger wants to do with all this stuff. That's when Dr. Geiger launches into his pitch, which begins, "Do you want to die?" "No, not really," say Jake and Nog. I love just Jake's, "Not really."
Yeah, he's like, I mean, not particular, What kind of question is this? Also, wait, pause, because fun fact, that white pod thing was a rented personal sauna.
I was thinking, is that a prop from some? There's no way they custom built that thing for this episode.
Set decorator Laura Recharts said, "I saw it 3 or 4 years ago at Modern Props, just this big egg-shaped thing. It was so weird. I took a picture of it, and it's one of those things I kept in my head because it was so unique. I knew someday we'd find the perfect use for it."
So you get in that little tiny thing, and it goes up to sauna temperatures?
That does sound just horrifying.
Yeah.
Now that you say it that way.
It's like a coffin that makes you really, really hot.
Well, and now I want to see if I can find, personal sauna. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Okay. See, now I'm seeing... You've totally seen a personal sauna in cartoons where it's they're in this weird shaped thing and only the head and the hands are sticking out.
Oh, sure.
And so I guess it's like that, except your whole body goes in there and
then you open it up and whatever's in there is not what you expect.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. But Dr.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
You mentioned it earlier and it sent me down a thought path, and I had to go and find it. They were saying, and you said Bajor mandala. All these years, I've been thinking it was a mandala, a little guitar thing.
Oh, Isn't that a mandolin?
Yep, and that's why.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just now figured that out, and I felt that I must put my ignorance on display for all to see.
Right. Nobody would have ever known. But so yes, Dr. Geiger has developed a groundbreaking new theory that could be the end of death itself. You see, aging and therefore death are the result of cellular boredom. Your cells get bored. And throughout this episode, every time he talks about this theory, and you start to think it might be a metaphor, he says something which makes you doubt that.
No, he's being 100% literal, and it's great.
Anyway, he's developed a machine that will keep your cells entertained, thereby making you immortal. Okay, it's possible this guy is a little, Looney Tunes. But whatever he is, he's in possession of the baseball card. Jake comes very close to quoting a Matchbox 20 song. Then he agrees to Dr. Geiger's deal, which they seal with a germ-friendly nod.
Do you know how many germs are communicating with a handshake? Are you trying to kill me? It's great.
Which, in a post-COVID era, this guy actually sounds totally sane.
A little more, yeah. Apparently his costume sold for $255 at auction. So if you were willing to spend that much, you too could have owned
that guy's
Geiger's costume.
That wasn't he wearing just like a plain brown suit or something?
Yeah, it's like it is a long sleeve tunic, light brown vest, dark woolen gray jacket with multicolored flecks and matching overall style trousers.
I'm sure it's framed and hanging in someone's collection.
Probably.
They go to Chief O'Brien to see if he knows where to get a neodymium power cell. But the chief is busy. Nog encourages Jake to tell O'Brien that it's a gift for the captain, but Jake wants to keep it a secret. For if he tells O'Brien, O'Brien will tell Keiko, and Keiko will tell Dax.
Well, joke's on you, Sir Lofton. Keiko's the one person who appears in the show even less than you. She wasn't going to be telling anybody.
But he ends his astute analysis right there on the unspoken axiom that once any secret gets to Dax, it's game over.
It's true. We've heard that multiple times, I feel like. She's an incorrigible gossip.
Yep. So Nog switches tacks and asks if there's anything the chief would rather be doing right now. Kayaking in the holosuite, for example. Well, how about Jake and Nog take over this work in exchange for that power cell? O'Brien agrees and walks off with a little smile that makes me wonder if he was playing Jake and Nog the whole time.
Well, the thing is, like, I get that there's like an implicit agreement about the exchange here, but at first they're just like, hey, we'll do this for you. And O'Brien's like, you do that for me? Awesome. And then he starts to leave and Nog has to be like, hey, about the thing. And he's like, oh yeah, I think I know where there's one. Which is a line he says, like, that it's phrased really strangely, and it's always stuck out to me that, like, O'Brien speaks, like, I feel like there's a little, like, Irish seeping in at that moment or something, but yeah, it's like, either he legitimately didn't get the implied, like, exchange, or he was trying to get out of it by just, like, running off as quickly as possible.
Either way. The next item on the list is 5 liters of anaerobic metabolites suspended in hydrosaline solution, which they try to get from Dr. Bashir. What do you want that for? Asked Bashir. The only thing that's good for is as a sheep aphrodisiac. You're not breeding any sheep, are you? Jake tries the wouldn't you rather be doing something else right now trick, but Dr. Bashir is doing exactly what he wants to be doing right now. However, if you could get your hands on Kukulaka, currently being over-borrowed by Lita. What's that? It's his teddy bear.
We've heard of it before.
Oh, yeah.
So, Bashir also, some real interesting acting choices in this scene, I feel like. Like, if you had told me that this Bashir was a changeling infiltrator, I would have believed it. Because he is, like, so weird and stone-faced through this whole thing. He's very un-Bashir, I feel like. But then, the moment that he's playing it so serious, he's like, Kukulak.
Maybe he's still mad at Jake for the whole, like, leaving him to die thing.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, Nog goes to acquire Kukulaka in the most reasonable way possible, breaking and entering into Lita's quarters while she's asleep with her arms tightly wrapped around Kukulaka.
Yeah, it's just like, wouldn't any other time of the day be better than this?
Yeah, if you're going to go the B&E route, wouldn't it be smarter to wait till she's at work?
I mean, she's literally engaged to your dad. You could wait until you know they're going to be together, and then...
Oh, yeah. But after Nog lightly blows on her face, she relinquishes the goods.
Yeah, it's creepy, is the entire scene.
This is the most baffling way to accomplish this I could have ever come up with. Kai Wynn reveals to Sisko the offer made by Weiyun. The Dominion wants to sign a, gasp, non-aggression pact with the Dominion, or with Bajor.
Yeah, not with the Dominion.
Presumably the Dominion already has a non-aggression pact with the Dominion.
One would hope. It's like one of those Groundskeeper Willie things. It's like, yeah, the Dominions, everyone hates them. Or they hate everyone. It's like the Federation, the Bajorans, the Dominion. Those Dominion guys. Giving a Dominion a bad name. What I forget how Willie says it.
But Sisko says this is a play by the Dominion to drive a wedge between Bajor and the Federation. What are you talking about, says Wynn. You're the one who stopped Bajor from joining the Federation.
Yep. Also,
what are the terms of this treaty? Because a non-aggression pact doesn't sound so bad.
Right? I mean, I guess Sisko's idea is like, but then, the Dominion will go to war with the Federation and not with you. And that's not good. I don't know. I don't know what he's...
Yeah, I guess that's true. Like, they could be like sending people through the wormhole all the time and the Federation could do nothing about it.
I guess what like Sisko says would happen is that you'd become the next like conquered territory or something like Cardassia.
Sure.
And which is kind of the opposite of the non-aggression. I don't know.
Who knows?
I mean, I feel like they call back to that earlier episode to, what was it, Rapture? Yeah, Rapture, where Sisko's like, no, you must not join the Federation. And like he has a whole rant that he goes on about like, locusts are coming and they will devour Bajor. And I'm like, okay, shouldn't you be recognizing that this may be like what that metaphor was referring to?
This is a good point. He needs to put his emissary hat on for a little bit. But yeah, Wynn finds herself caught between a rock and a hard place. She tried consulting the Orb of Wisdom, but it just kept giving her sexy naked visions.
Is that the one that does that? I forgot.
I don't remember. That was Bareil's orb, whatever it was. Sisko advises stalling until they can figure out what to do. Meanwhile, Jake delivers a cart full of loot to Dr. Geiger, but he still doesn't have the hydrosaline solution stuff.
And it's like, Nog's getting the bear now.
Yeah.
And dude does not question this. He's just like, yeah, whatever.
He finds Dr. Geiger testing out his machine and observing that his cells still get bored after 5 hours.
Which, I mean, my first thought was like, oh, so you go in there and you sleep for 8 hours and it keeps your cells entertained. Great. No, apparently you lay in there awake for 8 hours and you're like, getting kind of bored after for the first 5 hours.
Because your cells are so entertained.
Apparently the computer system that he's using in his quarters it appears to be the same system seen on the USS Excelsior and the Enterprise A in Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country.
I see. They wouldn't reuse a prop, would they?
Well, I mean, they had to spend so much to rent this personal sauna
right.
that...
Like, if you look at the budget graph for this episode, it's like the keep it slice of the pie is the sauna.
It's funny because the show was conceived as a bottle episode where, Jake-and-Nog.
Yeah.
Jake-and-Nog would be like running around the station talking to people, chasing this card, and Merle D. Moore's like, yeah. So right before the season finale, we'd have this like fun, funny, self-contained, and cheap episode.
Hey.
So maybe it was in the end. I mean, we had to have a whole new like Dominion set, and
yeah, I mean there was a lot of new looking sets and stuff. I mean,
And several
Jeffrey Combs
guest
probably
stars.
isn't cheap. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Win and Wei-Yun are both here.
Yeah. So yeah, Geiger takes a chip from the cart and plugs it into his big computer gizmo, and a wall full of lights starts to glow and make a weird noise. The sound of immortality.
Yeah.
In the quarters one floor up, Wei-Yun and a couple of Jem'Hadar wonder, what's going on down there? We have a right to know. Jake gets to writing a speech for Kira to give to the agricultural delegation, but he's having trouble concentrating due to Nog listening to Worf's Klingon operas to get the harmonic noise out or something.
Yeah, apparently this the computer system can like create entire universes within the holodeck, but it can't like filter out the noise in these records.
I filter out the noise from these podcasts every single time in like 2 minutes with the reduce noise function in Audacity. But maybe just Worf doesn't have access to this amazing open source technology.
Or maybe Klingon hearing is just so amazing that that wouldn't be enough.
And I thought that Jake's water is not a dry subject or whatever joke was not bad.
I'm with Nog. I don't know if it was the joke itself or his delivery of the joke, but I was just like, no, don't use that.
I bet Kira could have landed it.
I mean, clearly, we find out at the end of the episode that he managed to slip some comedy in there, so
Sure.
It worked out in the end.
Finally, they have the last of the stuff, and they go to deliver it to Dr. Geiger, but Geiger is gone, and his quarters are empty. They try to make a report to Odo, who reveals that those quarters were never assigned to anyone.
What? Which adds to the mystery of the moment, but in hindsight, it's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
So, how did he get all that crap in there? And, like, what is this guy doing?
Right. Well, how does he make money? What is this guy's deal?
Yeah.
But they get on Odo's bad side when they start using phrases like cellular regeneration and entertainment chamber and soulless minions of orthodoxy.
Yeah, I wouldn't have really gone quite that far with it, but I mean, it's not like you can't prove the guy existed. You like people saw him at that auction. You could be like,
presumably,
hey, Quark like sold a thing to him. He can tell you that. I guess they didn't want Odo to know about the baseball card either, but
sure.
It's just they really go about this in a way that just entirely makes them sound insane, so that Odo then threatens them with filing false reports.
I'm sure he does the let me type this up on my invisible typewriter routine and then kicks them out. But then Jake spots Kai Wynn talking to that Vedic who tried to buy the baseball card, and comes to a very reasonable conclusion. The Kai had Dr. Geiger murdered to get her hands on that 6th century Bajoran mandala.
It's just, Jake, my man. I know you're a writer and everything, but I've been rewatching Castle lately, and I don't know if you watched that show, but
I watched a few seasons of it.
What Castle ostensibly brings to the table in these investigations is that, like, he throws out these outlandish theories that somehow, sometimes have, like, a little bit of correctness in them that they can use.
Sure.
But, and so this feels like that, where Jake is this writer who's like, wait, the most insane theory, this is the one, but there's no one here to stop him from pursuing them.
He just becomes immediately 100% convinced of his theory. So yeah, they go off to beard the lion in its den, whatever that means. That's not a saying I've ever heard before.
Oh yeah, I have.
Okay. I don't think I'll ever be using it.
Oh, you need to use this, man. It's
first of all,
it's classic.
What is it? How do you beard something? How is beard a transitive verb? Like, do you put a beard on something, or
no? Hold on. I think what it means is, I'm gonna look this up now. I think what bearding means is like grabbing someone by the beard. But let's see. Well,
and this isn't the lion's den. Kai Wynn doesn't live here.
Yeah, it's just like on their own ground, which I guess means like where her quarters are on the station. This is the whole station is honestly more your territory than hers. But
I'm declaring this the nitpick of the week.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
This whatever this metaphor means, I don't think it's very apt for whatever you're doing.
I was trying to look up what beard means as a verb, but I just keep getting like, what does beard mean? Oh, it's an American slang for someone who knowingly dates a romantic partner to conceal their sexual orientation. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, no, that's not a verb either.
Right.
Like,
anyway, Kai Wen sees Wei-Yun off the station, but is also not really having any of his diplomacy, and gets a sick burn in on him when she like grabs his ear and is like, "We're not alike at all."
That is, yeah. He's really once again trying to play up what great friends they are, and how like I don't know if this is good diplomacy as far as the Dominion is concerned, but it's just like being way overly enthusiastic about like it's I don't think anyone enjoys being on the other end of that. So it's like weird.
You know, I think diplomacy just might not be the Dominion's strong suit. They're not called the Diplominion.
Diplominion. I'm gonna use that.
So she sees him off the station, then she comes face to face with Jake-and-Nog. Cut to Jake-and-Nog getting chewed out by Captain Sisko. But to preserve the secret, Jake comes up with the perfect excuse. They were drunk. Nog tries to distance himself from this madness, but it's no use.
I mean, I've been on Nog's side about a lot of the disagreements in this episode where Jake wants to do something insane and Nog's like, can we be sane, please? But this is where it really comes to a head, where Jake is like, oh man, how do I explain this away? I know, we were drunk, which it could ruin Nog's entire career before it started if like it goes into his record that as a cadet he like almost assaulted the leader of an entire alien planet because he got drunk. So,
or at least the Pope of that planet.
Yeah, right. And so this is where I would get, if I was Nog, I would get off of the Jake train and just be like, okay, no.
He's buying you a baseball card. Please, we were not drunk.
Yeah, it's like, look, I'm going to explain, Jake, you shut up now. This has gotten like way too serious.
And Captain Sisko is so disappointed. It's like getting drunk. In the turbo lift, Nog says that Jake is losing it and he needs to get away for a while. And then they both get beamed right onto the bridge of the Dominion ship.
And apparently sensors don't pick this up. When you kidnap two members of, one crew member and one guy who lives here.
I mean, we've seen these Dominion transporters are pretty sneaky, so.
That's true, yeah.
They have an audience with Wei-Yun, who thinks that they're spies in some kind of cahoots with Dr. Geiger to do something nefarious.
Yeah, something nefarious, because it was right underneath his quarters, but he has since left those quarters, and nothing nefarious happened to him.
Right.
So I don't...
Well, because they kidnapped Dr. Geiger, so...
Yeah, maybe that was it.
At first, he doesn't believe their ridiculous baseball card story, until Jake tries spinning an even more ridiculous story of Willie Mays being a dangerous time traveler who must be tracked down and stopped.
I did love this story that Jake came up with just off the top of his head. I was like, this sounds like a ridiculous episode of Star Trek. I love this.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds so stupid, but then again, it totally could be an episode of even this very show. So
yeah, exactly. And then Wei-Yun's just like, I believe you. And Jake's like, wait, you do? Like, yeah, the first story you told.
Yeah, he's like, okay, yeah, you were telling the truth the first time.
It is bold of the Dominion, of Wei-Yun in particular, to just kidnap the station commander's son and threaten him. Like, I feel like maybe they never tell Sisko about this, but this is like active war territory.
Well, they're like, yeah, that's true. Or maybe they're just like, it's like, make it look like they got drunk and stumbled out the airlock or something.
They're known for that, apparently.
Right. They're spying on that whole meeting. They were like, the perfect opportunity. And Wei-Yun becomes very interested when he hears about Dr. Geiger's immortality project. So he sends the boys away with the baseball card. In a closing captain's log, Sisko remarks on how much improved the spirit of optimism is on the station. As we see the chief coming back from his kayaking trip looking happy, Bashir admiring his kukalaka while an upset Lita searches her quarters for it, Worf enjoying his remastered Klingon operas, Kira getting a standing ovation for her agriculture speech, Wei-Yun and Geiger having fun in the cellular regeneration and entertainment chamber, and of course the captain getting surprised with his new baseball card. Everybody's happy, except Lita.
Yeah, but... Yeah.
Although I fear what may happen to Geiger when Wei-Yun gets bored with him. The end.
Well, so there's a couple of interesting notes on that point.
Okay.
One is, when asked by a fan if Dr. Geiger's device would ever expose a weakness in the Vorta or Jem'Hadar, so pause. I just love that someone's like, "Oh man, is the cellular regeneration entertainment chamber going to come back and be somehow essential to the future story of the show?" And Ronald D. Moore's like, Dr. Geiger's cellular regeneration and entertainment chamber has much higher aspirations than helping the Federation against the Dominion. He's after immortality itself.
Sure.
So that answer is no, that's not going to happen. But the other note is the Star Trek Adventures, that's the tabletop RPG, or one of the tabletop RPGs that's been made out of Star Trek. The Gamma Quadrant source book for this game strongly implies that Dr. Geiger was killed by the Jem'Hadar after becoming disillusioned with the realities of working for the Dominion and desiring to return to the Federation.
Oh, yeah. That puts a nice, ending note on this episode.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, if he goes on to work for the Dominion, then, and the Dominion's about to go to war with the Federation, I can see how this guy would possibly quickly become disillusioned with that situation. We need to,
I'm going to put this on the list of episodes. We need to, just more Dr. Geiger, The Adventures of Dr. Geiger.
Like a mini-series gradually leading up to his murder.
I'll put it right under the 47 Maquis Ronin.
Okay, other notes. The layout of the A story of this episode, Jake-and-Nog trying to buy the baseball card but continually being forced to get something in lieu of the card, is similar to the B story from the first season episode, Progress, where they were trying to earn Latinum but kept ending up with other stuff.
Yep.
So I don't think anyone missed that.
Right. Another trading game episode.
Yeah, although I feel like this one was better in that sense than that one.
Oh, for sure.
Let's see. Ronald D. Moore commented, basically, we reversed the normal structure for this show. The A episode is the comedy, and the B episode is serious. Kind of like that one where, with Burial. I'm sorry, hold on. Insofar as it is the only show with a lighthearted, humorous A story and a seriously important B story. Usually the positions are reversed. A serious A story is often offset with a lighter B story, such as the third season episode Life Support.
Okay.
With the A story being about Burial and the signing of the treaty, while the B story is about Jake-and-Nog going on.
I was like, was Burial supposed to be the B story in that episode?
No, yeah. I was just thinking, I just thought of that episode because of like the stark contrast between the two.
That is the ultimate tonal incongruity there.
Yeah, this one, not quite as much of a... especially since they bring them together at the end. Like, I feel like just that part of it lightens up the B story.
And I mean, like, it's nowhere near as bad as seeing, like, Burial dying and going through these horrible scientific procedures or whatever.
Yeah, becoming Frankenstein.
Yeah.
It's a monster.
Right.
And the last note in here is the episode proved to be a big hit with the fans and also popular with the producers. Irish Stephen Bear said, all of the plot machinations, all of the humor, all the tech talk, everything, it ultimately comes down to simple human emotion of trying to make someone you care about feel better. It's very simple and very nice.
Yeah.
And then Ronald D. Moore adds to that by saying, the father and son are really tight, and they really do love each other. It's a family that works, and it's important to us. In this particular episode, Jake's feelings ground everything and make you actually care about this ridiculous stuff. There's a heart to it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So, we'll head into reviews. So, What did you think of the episode in the cards?
So, this is clearly the light episode before the season finale, so you can expect, just like, I mean, it said that, but it's pretty obvious. They're even setting up in this episode, like, the more serious stuff that's just around the corner, right?
Uh-huh.
So, I kind of like that. I like them giving us a second to breathe before, and also, this is another pretty limited in scope story, which is funny because I was annoyed by that early in the season. And then the last two we had an episode or two that came back to more of the ensemble. And then in the last episode and this one, we've kind of limited things down again to where, like, the last episode, it was pretty much all O'Brien and Garrick with a little bit of Nog and some red shirts thrown in.
Yeah.
And this one, you get a little piece of a lot of people, of pretty much everybody but Dax, as we established. So I like that, but it really is like a Jake and Nog story. Even the B story stuff, like, there's not much to it. Like, Cisco doesn't have all that much to do. He has like one or two conversations with Kai Wynn. Wei-Yun probably has more than him, and Wei-Yun's just, the guest star. But I like this episode a lot. It takes, like I said, that earlier season Jake and Nog B story that frankly wasn't done all that well, and it makes it good. It gives it more meaning because it's not just like, man, we want money. It gives it heart, like Ronald D. Moore was talking about, but it also, instead of them going to a bunch of random people that we don't know to trade things, they're integrating the other characters of the ensemble into it. And it makes it feel like more of a Deep Space Nine episode than just like Jake and Nog call random people on the telephone and try to like horse trade things.
Right.
So I think that's done a lot better. It does have a few weird moments, like the scene with Kukulaka, where I'm just like, why? I mean, I guess I get maybe we're going for the comedy, but what I appreciate most is the way that we've often complained that this show does this completely separate A and B stories, that like you completely forget what the B story was with the A story because it had nothing to do with anything. This one actually manages to tie them together in the end in a way that makes the whole episode feel more cohesive than some of those other episodes. And maybe it's because it's Wei-Yun and we love Jeffrey Combs, but I really appreciate that. I love the way that they use Wei-Yun to tie the two stories together and even make the ridiculous, like, Wei-Yun is supposed to be a threat, a serious, like, he's seriously trying to negotiate this treaty, and at the same time, he gets to be the ridiculous, like, oh, I have an interest in like, creative genetics. Which, I'm just like, I mean, just because you are a clone doesn't mean that, like, you know about cloning. Maybe he does.
Sure.
But it's just like, I mean, we're all born through a biological process. That doesn't mean that we're all biologists. But anyway, I like the episode a lot. I think it's a great, it's placed perfectly in the season to have this fun little moment. And I think that they do it well. And the guest stars are all bringing it. Like, the guy who plays Geiger is so perfect at what he's doing when what he's doing is completely ludicrous. And Wei-Yun, obviously, Jeffrey Combs, always awesome. So this is an easy Commander for me. Tempted to maybe even go a little higher, but I think I'm going to stick at Commander.
All right. Yeah. I think this episode is absolutely delightful. It is peak Jake and Nog shenanigans. I think just all the comedic timing is impeccable. And even the stuff that's just ridiculous, like the stealing Kukulaka, it's so bizarre but so funny. And I also like just the way the A and the B story are woven together perfectly. I think the pacing is great. And like, we've had some episodes this season that sometimes they feel like stuff is getting a little stretched, like the one with Zek and Brunt, whatever that was called.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called either. But yeah, no, I remember the episode.
Yeah. And, or just like a few episodes ago when Nog was trying to stand up to the Klingons, and that just felt like way too goofy and out of character.
Yep.
Or last episode, I did not enjoy like seeing Garrick way out of character, but somehow it kind of like almost parodies the characters, but in a really believable way or something, to where it pushes it just far enough to where it's like, it's just perfect. Like the whole episode, I feel like, is just pitch perfect. I mean, usually you kind of want to save a captain rating for an episode that's like more ambitious than this. Because it's like, they tried something really big and it really landed. Mm-hmm. But I just think this is so perfect. I will just go ahead and give it the captain.
Nice.
Because it's just, it all comes together just so perfectly. Mm-hmm. That, and it's, it's hard to actually find any real complaint with the episode.
I think you summed it up perfectly when you said this is peak Jake-and-Nog shenanigans, because we've had issue throughout this run of the show with them pulling out Jake-and-Nog shenanigans, which are not good.
Right.
They're too dumb. They're not done well. They don't make any sense. This one works.
Yeah, and they got they finally got the formula just right.
Yeah,
like the right amount of humor, the right amount of jakiness, the right amount of nogginess.
I think part of what works well with that here is that we've gotten to a place where Nog is the responsible one in the relationship. Uh-huh. And we're not doing the odd couple thing still.
Yeah.
Where that was going a little far, like over the edge. But here it's just like Nog is the normal guy and Jake is the nut job who's like just going way too far, and Nog is trying to hold him back, which is such a good contrast with where they started, when Nog is like, half feral Ferengi child who has never been taught anything else. So, and Jake is like responsible son of the commander guy. And so it having them both grow over the course of the show till we got to this point, and having that sort of reversal of role, I think works really well. Like we found the formula that works for this pair.
Yep. And I like the stuff with Jake trying to put his writer skills to use with disastrous results.
That's such a teenage moment too. Right? You're just like, oh, I know exactly what to do here. My 1 year of experience writing things has taught me everything I need to know.
I can pull this off.
Yeah.
So I'm totally getting away with this. And yeah, the whole way it was tied together at the end, and just like the heart element, just all great stuff. Except for maybe the title.
Okay, title review.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, okay, here's my notes on the title. There's only one card, first of all. There's not even any Cardassians, so it just feels a little bit like they reached for the closest pun that had card in it, and then just ran with it. So I feel like it's a little lazy. Although for memorability, I think for sure it will be. I could definitely, if you said in the cards, I could definitely say it was this episode.
Yep.
If you said the baseball card episode, it might take me a second to remember it was called in the cards.
Yeah. Fair.
So cleverness, low marks, memorability, fairly high marks, and relevance. There is a card in the cards. I guess I got to give it some marks for that, but I feel like they could have done better.
Yeah, honestly, I anticipated this being like nitpick of the week territory. Before we even started the episode, I was like, it says in the cards and there's only one card. He's going to call this out. Like, you can't not.
Right.
I think I agree with basically everything you said. Like, memorability, that's there. There's one episode about a card, and it's this one. So I got you. Although you're also right that if you reversed it and you said the baseball card episode, I would know what episode you're talking about. I might not be able to name it right off.
Right.
So, but yes, I also agree. It feels lazy. It feels like there's like, what has the word card in it? Here we go.
Yeah.
And so it's not particularly creative. It gets a little bit of credit because yes, the word card is in there, and you could, if you really wanted to, you could try to stretch it and be like, oh, and it's like a deep metaphor about what's coming up in the future, like what's in the cards with this negotiation. But I feel like you would really need to stretch to get there.
Right.
So yeah, it's okay. We've had worse titles for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like they put much effort into it.
Yeah, in the cards, you want them to like have to play a poker game for the fate of the Alpha Quadrant or something.
Oh no, does that mean that like the what you call it? Those guys are coming back? The
Wadi?
Yeah. They're like, oh, wait till you try our new game where you play Texas Hold'em. If this was like a 2000s show instead of a 90s show, somebody would be playing Texas Hold'em because that was the thing.
The Wadi come back.
Poker tournament for the fate of the Alpha Quadrant.
To try to resolve Federation Dominion issues through games. Okay.
Oh, man, that story writes itself practically.
Right.
Gosh.
Bring that main Wadi guy back.
With their little sticks.
Oh, yeah. So any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, not really. I mean, we're about to hit the season finale, and who knows? Things may take off at that point. Honestly, I guess I do have a final thought here now that I'm thinking about it. I forget sometimes how long it takes us to get to next week, essentially, where we're at the end of season 5 now, and honestly, like the things that are beginning to happen feel more like late season 4 in my brain. So yeah, just sometimes, like, because we're now there's 7 seasons, so we're 5/7 of the way through the show, and the things that happen in the last 2 seasons are like loom largest in my mind for the story of the show.
Right.
So it's like, I'm just kind of surprised getting to this point. Like, oh, like there's so much that is central in my brain to this show that's still to come, and we're most of the way through.
Yeah, I think when most people think of Deep Space Nine, they think about these storylines from the next 2 seasons, and just like you always imagine them wearing like the uniforms that we got in the middle of this season.
Yep.
Characters, like maybe if Martok comes back, characters like that really didn't get introduced till this season, or like, yeah.
And I think that it may have contributed to like just how annoying like Bashir, for instance, was at the beginning of the show.
Yeah,
because it's like it lasts like 2 seasons of Bashir just being insufferable, because you're like, I know where he's going later, and he's not like this. So like it bothers me.
Yeah, it's like we just found out that Bashir is genetically engineered, and it's like that feels like such a key part of his character. So maybe that'll come back in the future. Who knows? So
every time we see them playing darts, it comes back. What are you talking about? He has to stand way back there.
That's true. So yeah, I mean, well, we'll have much leisure to talk about this, but yes, it feels like definitely kind of a, I don't know, some kind of dividing line or something. I don't know, but anyway, next episode we will see if anything interesting happens, any major developments happen, or anything like that. Sometimes that kind of stuff happens in season finales. Who knows?
That'll probably be a relaxed affair.
Right. It'll be they'll go back in time to the Old West and meet Mark Twain.
I saw somebody, because Lower Decks is going into their last season, and I saw a post on like Facebook or something where it was like, if Lower Decks got renewed and they asked you for a story for another episode, what would you want? And one of the responses I saw was like, the Lower Decks crew also goes back in time to the episode of the original series about tribbles and like has to navigate around both of the other crews and I was just like, wow, that is an idea. Like I love that.
That is a really an idea. Maybe they'll do it because we still have a season left, right?
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen.
Maybe they already made that episode. So anyway, so yeah, we better call it there. So thank you for joining us today. If you like this discussion, maybe you'll like our discussion of, what was that other Jake-and-Nog one? It
was, hold on. I still have the
this is,
article
again,
open.
that B-story problem with, like...
Yeah, who remembers? It
was
called
Progress? Okay,
yes.
Yeah. So check that one out. You can find that in all our past episodes, and maybe future episodes, if you're listening in the future, wherever you're listening to this, and maybe other places, who knows. If you want to leave us a comment, you can do that on YouTube. But my name is Fletcher. About to say goodbye is Data.
Adios.
We look forward to seeing you for our next discussion. But remember, don't stand between me and the cellular entertainment.
Nice.
My cells are bored.
Please save me. I'm slowly dying.